most of you are actually doing this without even realizing the repercussions of it. So today I'm going to talk about binge learning and why is it a bad practice, especially if you're a serious learner. So without any further ado, let's get into the topic. Hello everyone, this is Kapil Reddy, founder and CEO of Zuperly. Today, the topic I'm going to talk about is binge learning. Yeah, we've all heard about binge watching, right? So there is huge difference between binge watching and binge learning. Binge watching is mostly for entertainment purpose. Usually our mind wants that sort of relaxation. So obviously we won't mind spending a lot of time just binge watching something. And that's why you see all this Netflix series which actually run for like, let's say 9 to 10 hours. But you won't actually get bored of it, of course, depending on the quality of the series. But the same principle cannot be applied to learning, because especially when it comes to learning, there's a lot of cognitive load and the brain cannot take a lot of cognitive load at a stretch. For that reason, just understand the fact that binge watching is very different from binge learning. The same principles will not apply for both of it. Taking a step back, let us understand where exactly we have binge learned and why is it such a horrible practice, especially if you have transitioned from a student phase to an adult learner. We all would have experienced this, right? Let's say just before the exam, we pull out an all-nighter. We just have our dose of caffeine to make sure we are awake overnight, so that ideally we can crack the exam, maybe with a good grade the next day. Yeah, it sounds cool, like we just go about bragging with everybody that, oh, I just studied the last night. In fact, I probably did the same thing where I just used to prepare for exams a day before. It is a very unhealthy practice, but at that point of time, probably I felt, or most of you will feel, that it's probably a good practice. Unfortunately, as I told, the goals of a student are very different from goals of an adult learner. I'll tell you exactly how. As a student, probably your intermediate goal is to just get a good grade in your exam. You're not really bothered about what sort of information you're consuming and how exactly are you going to use it in the practical world. For that reason, maybe, although it's not a recommended practice, it is acceptable to some extent. But as an adult learner, whatever you're trying to learn or upskill on a constant basis, ideally what you're looking for is a way to apply what you've learned. And that can only happen if you have certain good practices in place, and binge learning is definitely not one of them. To some extent, let's say if you want a quick recap of something or if you want to learn something, binge learning can help, but it's definitely not a good practice if you are a serious learner. Binge learning can do more harm than what you actually expect. That's the reason why we should 100% avoid binge learning. Like people everywhere prescribe, right? Binge eating is very bad for your health. Similarly, binge learning is very bad for your brain and your mind. So now let's understand what are the problems with binge learning and how it's tricking us or making us not even realize the mistake we're doing. The problem is, as I told, we all believe that if we read something, we just have consumed something, or we have picked a book. All of these things will actually give us a dopamine high, because of which we are tricked to believe that we have learned something. Fact remains true that 70% of what we learn is something we forget within a day, and 90% of it is something we forget within a week. The next time you pick a new book, before finishing the old book, always question yourself, like, is this a good practice? Or am I actually learning something out of it? Because as humans, we constantly crave for new things. But without finishing whatever is already pending, if you try to pick up new things, that itself will be quite detrimental for your learning goals. So for that reason, again, all of us have this problem, right? We pick up new books all the time before even finishing the existing books. We have a big pile of books and we enroll to new courses. Thanks to all the marketing efforts done by all these e-learning courses, we just quickly go and enroll on the course, only to realize that within few days or maybe within few hours, we just lose interest and that's it. We just keep piling up. And the sad part is we spend a lot of money to do it, yet we're not making the best use of that money. While in contrary, anything and everything out there can be learned free of cost. So question yourself, like, why exactly is this happening? That's because there is no structure to your online learning. And that is a problem we have, because as humans, especially given our education system followed in schools or colleges, we're all used to a structured way of learning. Let's say there is curriculum, there are teachers, there is assessments, there are attendance policies. All these things put together will probably make you a little disciplined learner. But once you're out of college and everything is online, especially for you to learn from the online world, there is no structure for it, because of which you tend to forget a lot of things. You're doing things in a very unstructured way. You're doing things which have no long-term effect, and that is causing you to actually forget most of the stuff. And that's why we're always in this state of mind where we feel, I actually learned this somewhere, or I'm not able to recall this. I 100% remember reading this. These are all the expressions which we constantly experience ourselves, and something which we hear from our colleagues as well. And that's the reason for it. As I told, there's no structure for it. And most of what we are doing to actually learn in this way is nothing but binge learning, where let's say you come across an article, you just quickly skim through it, and you think you learned something. Yeah, let's say there might be few highlights in the article which will hit you hard, and you believe that, oh yeah, now I know there's a lot of information. But unfortunately, that's not helpful. What all you learned in the last 1 week, how much of it is something you can actually remember and maybe explain it to somebody? Just do the small check for yourself, and you'll see where you're lacking when it comes to your learning practices. But of course, don't have to worry much about this, because there are like simple techniques that we can follow to actually come out of this binge learning methodology. So let's understand what are some techniques which we can follow to come out of this binge learning methodology. First step is, make sure that whatever you're trying to learn, apply it somewhere. Always have a stake in the outcome. For example, you're trying to learn or how to write a book. Instead of just having that micro goal, have a long-term goal, which is probably in 2 years' time, I want to write a book that can be published. So you have a clear outcome as to why you're doing this, because of which your mind will put extra interest and extra focus on this particular topic, so that you can actually learn more effectively. So my point is, always have the stake in the outcome when you are starting to learn something. That will actually help you learn very effectively. Second thing is, always summarize stuff in your own thought process. For example, let's say you read a fantastic article, which is probably 20 minutes long. Do not go back to the article reading the entire 20 minutes, because there will be a lot of filler stuff which will be out there. So instead of it, just summarize everything in your own words. Of course, highlighting is something a lot of people do, but to be very honest, highlighting can only be effective to some extent. It's not completely effective. Instead, just whatever you've understood from that article, summarize it in your own thoughts and your own notes. In this way, whenever you go back to these notes, the recall value is much more effective. As I told earlier as well, while you're writing something, your brain works 2x better, because once you're trying to consume all this and you're again putting your thoughts into a structured format, because of it, your mind is quite active, and there are higher chances that you can retain this information for a much longer time. Third and most important thing is, you have to block your time on a daily basis to learn something more effectively. You cannot just learn at random times. So please make it a habit. Let's say, of course, it completely depends on individual to individual. If you think your professional life is, coming in play where you're almost busy the entire day, just try to block some time in the morning. Let's say maybe before your work starts, let's say 8 to 9. Or 8 to 9:30, whatever it is, at least block 60 to 90 minutes on a daily basis and pre-plan as to what exactly you want to learn during that time. So these are nothing but learning sessions. So once you have those pre-planned learning sessions, the fact that you're learning every single day, the compounding effect is much higher. It's beyond your imagination. Over a few months, you'll realize that how much you've improved in mastering a particular skill or a particular topic. This is something which you can only experience once you start doing it dedicatedly. See, my point is, this is our brain, our body, like how we take care of our body, be it the food we take, the physical exercise we do, or whatnot. Similarly, to sharpen our mind, these are some basic techniques which we need to follow. And do not forget the power of compounding. This is something a lot of us miss, and we always believe that, okay, let's say we want to learn something, we try to do it in one go, which is not very effective. Instead, just break it out. As I told, into the 60-minute sessions or 90-minute sessions or 2-hour sessions as well. In this way, have clear set goals like why are you doing this and what is the outcome you're trying to do this. Because once you start with the why, everything else will fall in place. You'll have a lot more clear objective as to why you're doing or why you're learning a particular topic. These are some basic tips which I've just discussed with you. Try doing it so that you'll understand the way you learn is very effective compared to how it was previously. To be very honest, I have done this and I've seen the first-hand effects of how exactly I have improved myself, and I've seen it with my friends and my family to whom I've actually suggested this. So try doing it for yourself, and of course you can comment in the sections if there is a better way you've actually overcome this problem of binge learning. The whole idea is, as I told, we're anyway spending time learning something, why not do it effectively? So that knowledge exchange and knowledge transformation can be much more effective. And that's the whole idea what we're trying to convey here. And of course, needless to say, Zuperly is exactly built for this. Zuperly is trying to change the way we learn, and we want to do it in a more productive way. We want to give you this learning zone where you can just go and have everything that you want to learn in one single space that can be personalized to your own choice. And the best part, you can also schedule your learning sessions, and Zuperly will help you to pull you back into those particular learnings so that you're not missing out on learning and, most importantly, finishing a topic. Because completion of learnings is a major problem which nobody is able to address even till this day. And it's not just about completion of courses, it can be finishing a book that you've picked up or learning a topic that you've started. All these are things which we have keep piling up, and because of it, at one point we feel overwhelmed and we are just constantly in chase for new topics, which is not at all effective. And that's what we want you to avoid with Zuperly. And we have a big announcement, which is we've come out of closed beta to open beta. So ideally, anybody out here can try out Zuperly today. And the first-hand feedback which we got is completely phenomenal. And that's the reason why we've advanced our plans to open up the beta access by 2 months at least. So we would like to hear what you think of this platform and how exactly can we evolve or improve further to make it a memorable experience for you. So that's it from my side. I hope this was helpful for you to understand where exactly we are going wrong when it comes to our learning. These 3 tips what I've mentioned can actually help you combat this practice. So that's it from my side. So do check out Zuperly and we'll be looking forward to hearing your feedback. Until then, I hope you all have a good weekend and a great week ahead. So see you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.